Welcome back to some Hexarchy. I had a crazy game today where I got cursed with a center of the map spawn. Normally spawning on the outsides of the map is safest, you're sharing a border with the ocean, but when you're stuck in the center, all the players on the side of the map have nowhere to expand but straight into you. I don't realize it until a couple of turns in, but I'm dead in the center of this map's sandwich. There are 5 players happening here today, including Potatoes, who very quickly identifies me as the resident Russia player as soon as I drop the you-know-what wonder. I'm pretty happy with this initial spawn point, and I use the Russian food advantage in order to get an early settler out. I spot some horses that I want to use for my first expansion. Russia demands having access to those horses to make Cossacks not an insane price, and it's actually really dramatic at just how expensive charge is if you can't use horses to pay for them. On turn 2, I get 2 sets of science in a row off the market, and I'm staring at 3 science to work with, and I'm able to go through like every single tech card I draw and drop all these improvements right here, which feels excellent and gets a strong start to the game, dropping the equivalent of 12 hammers per turn because the science is effectively getting you 2 hammers every time you use it. The only weird thing that happens here is that I use forage on the marble, hoping that I can get out a Statue of Zeus either by drawing into mine next turn or by getting lucky off the market. I finally draw to the very bottom of the deck and, got nothing better to do, drop the scout. Especially because I'm worried about this back left corner to the spawn where I've got no vision on it. It turns out I was very correct to be worried about the back door, as I'm bordering Greece. I don't know if you guys have played against the good Greek players, but the companion cavalry, their ability to capture cities, if they put woodsmen on it, they can charge out of complete darkness over the worst terrain you've ever seen and capture your city out of nowhere. So I'm now very nervous as the back door to my entire setup is bordering Greece. I see Egypt. I don't think Egypt is that much of a threat on this turn, as the double forest blocking up between us is very much in my favor defensively. The more I look at the spawn, the more and more worried I get, even coming down to you can see tiny little bits of purple on the far right of the Fog of War, as I slowly realize that I've got 3 very bad neighbors right now. During this turn, I'm kind of focused onto the Statue of Zeus. I've got the mine in order to get the second bit of marble, and I'm hoping to find it, but because I dropped so many tech cards last turn from the triple science off the market, it's buried really deep, and I've got 10 more cards to draw through. So I ended up going for the weird play of drawing up all the way to 10 cards and using the max hand reshuffle. And somehow I hadn't even burnt a single card by that point. I do get Saturnalia's favorite son out, but the rest of the turn is a bit mediocre for getting my engine online. I grab another marble, hoping that I can get like a culture setup going, because the mine's going to grab a second marble, and the turn after that I'm going to have 3 for a potential turn 6 Hagia Sophia, which is so important for cultural wins, but I've got Greeks standing on my back door. I now see that Egypt has put out a horse archer. Fortunately, Rome hasn't done anything aggressive yet, but I'm feeling way more nervous about the setup. Basically, the only thing going in my favor right now is the Statue of Zeus and that solid turn 2 economic advantage I got. Because the Greek scout took the time to gather the food to grow a nearby city, I actually get access to the hut, and I make sure to attack the scout in order to get the priority on the move round. And I get lucky off the market again with exactly enough science in order to grab a really early university, as I've got both a marble and a stone mine in order to drop the university as soon as I go through all of this. The university is, even after its nerf, potentially still the best card in the game. It produces the equivalent of 6 hammers every single turn, and when you run out of them, it's still producing 3 gold at minimum. In addition to a pretty solid amount of culture. Basically only the monastery and a temple with multiple holy sites competes with that. finally get out my second settler. I normally have burnt Mobilize by this point because I'm so used to having Statue of Zeus for my Mobilize needs. I'm kind of surprised that I actually get to mobilize a settler for once. I'm feeling really nervous about this Greece backdoor. Worst case scenario, it happens this turn, but like, I don't think it was practical for me to defend it this round. I'm really hoping that their backdoor attempt happened next turn, which is why I'm holding onto the Masonry in order to get out a Swordsman next turn. I don't actually ever find iron this entire map, but it turns out that both England and Rome are selling a ton of their iron on the market, so I end up building like 5 iron units despite never finding an iron source myself. The fact that Greece was able to build 2 wonders using that stone mine makes me feel a lot safer that the companion rush out of the dark didn't happen this turn. I feel like it would have hurt my economic advantage a little bit too much not getting that university out if I had defended a moment early, but now, like, I can't take the risk of just losing the game over the companion rush happening in the dark. In addition to that, Egypt is now threatening the Vanguard Horse Archer, just sitting right there staring at Novgorod, and Rome's culture is now pointing out to Kazan. I don't think that a fresh unit from Rome can hit Kazan in a single round, but like, I'm really feeling the 3-way pinch right now. I think just based on map spawns, that Rome had the best opportunity to win this game from a pure economic standpoint. They had a bunch of difficult terrain separating them from Egypt, and we won't be able to see it until the end of match review where I look over the map, but there's a huge amount of room for Rome to expand eastward. It's potentially what saved me this game, as Rome only half-heartedly committed to their attack later on. Either way, this turn is pretty important, as I have to defend both Moscow and Novgorod this turn, because the Horse Archer is threatening it, as well as the potential for the Companion Cavalry surprise at any moment. This would have been so much harder to defend if I didn't have the Statue of Zeus going the entire time. Like, I'm not convinced it would have been possible to survive this game without dropping it so early. But still, I find a moment in order to set up for a wonder play next turn. For anyone wondering about the Agrarian Society, this winery is producing effectively 4 gold a turn. The first winery is worth it, the second one isn't. And it only plays mediocrely with Cultivate, so I wouldn't recommend sticking in Agrarian Society for very long. If you swap to it, you're very explicitly saying, hey, I think I'm going to grab currency in short order, so forage is going to fall off suddenly anyways. Might as well get something on the way out. And yep, attacking Novgorod. Without the strength on the archer, I just lost the unit and potentially the entire city over the next 2 turns. And yep, there's the companion cavalry right on time. It's like, no, I want to block this off before it happens. I think dropping the Great Library on this turn was a mistake. It felt right in the moment because I felt that the swordsman was going to be enough to defend me, but looking back at it, I think it just put too much stuff in my deck, which is already absolutely massive from the engineering and education rushes. By running through the entire tech tree, you put a ton of cards in your discard pile, which means all of that's going to get shuffled up, and you have to do a lot of burning on the next pass. I think Notre Dame was key to this game's victory. The Great Library is probably key to why I struggled so much in the second half. I'm really concerned about my economy this game. I'm only getting 5 gold per turn despite the number of resources. So I go for a play to set up a military engineer to build roads between all my cities to reduce the upkeep cost of everything. It ends up being subtly working out, like the game-determining play would not have worked without having a road between Moscow and Novgorod. I sent one of the scouts up to Athens, hoping to get a forge on the stone up there. I never end up getting the extra hammer I need in order to get it, but I don't think it mattered that much. I already have one stone mine happening, and stone really only ever gets used for barracks this round. Here, the subtle play of putting on the fort, saving a hit point on my swordsman, ends up being the difference between Egypt's swordsman surviving with 1 hit point and dying within the trade right here. Having a melee unit, even threatening both Kazan and Novgorod, even with only a single hit point, would have been a very bad situation, especially if the archer put on the bottom of the deck like that. Yeah, without a mobilized ranged unit, just having both cities threatened is a really bad situation. Thinking I'm safe for a turn because Egypt doesn't have a good way to get past me. They can't put a barracks on the space next to Memphis because the lumber mill's in the way. And Rome still hasn't revealed any units from the Fog of War. Given that's because my scout has left Kazan, so I don't have direct line of sight on the city anymore, but like I'm feeling a bit safe for this one turn. I've got enough units on Moscow that even with a crazy buff stack on the companion cavalry, I still survive. So I get worried about my gold income, still only +8 this turn, and drop the East India Company in order to make sure that A, others can't get it, and B, the passive 4 gold per turn on it is extremely valuable. Just to be extra safe, I drop an extra defender on Moscow, especially because I'm using the forward one in order to try and gain some territory. Especially a good spot to drop a barracks is on that spot because I've already burned the mine, so the marble isn't as important as just the defensive location to prevent any further backdoors from Greece. I still never get access to a true iron source, so the fact that Rome's selling so much has really helped out so much this game. The East India Company and the other wonders puts a pretty big target on my back, so my primary goal this game is to defend, but I'm feeling pretty confident this turn, as Memphis has no melee units in it. There's no good spot for Egypt to drop a barracks. Greece has a good barracks drop spot, but I've got enough units in Moscow, along with the zone of control on the spearmen, that I think I can hold it there. So I look to go on the offense because the best way to make sure they're not attacking you is to make sure that they're worried about their own city. I end up going through the deck and finding the stone I need in order to do a barracks drop play. I see the horsemen one step out of Memphis, and if I drop the barracks here, despite the double difficult terrain, meaning I'd have to get a forced march to get through, I can use the horse as a stepping stone for charging past. Like, one attack, step in, hit the horseman, then hit Memphis on the other side. So with the University powering out the musketmen and getting an extra copy in case I need it next turn, I'm feeling pretty good about this aggressive move to keep Egypt off my back. I don't have much I can do with these last couple of cards. I think burning the catapults and getting an extra use of craftsmanship was probably the play. Although I don't end up doing that. The goal of the musketmen push is to keep Egypt off my back. Although putting the scout one space to the right and getting a road for that space would make it extremely easy to attack Memphis, that barracks can now just pump out a charge unit every single turn. It also makes Memphis able to attack me, which is the real goal I'm trying to prevent. So by sending the scout off to the side, it's getting some eyes and opportunities on Athens and England. I think I get a little bit too confident this game. I almost go for the greedy play of putting a monument that can hit Memphis so that when I finally conquer it, it's getting in the bonus zone. I wisely decide against it, but I feel like I should have still burned an extra card this turn. The catapult ends up being not as useful as I hope it is. So I think I would have been better off burning both it and resilience in order to get that craftsmanship and for a bigger culture push. Craftsmanship is such a ridiculous card. To my surprise, Egypt actually disbands the horsemen. So this one step has no unit to go after. It wouldn't have taken Memphis this turn as they did build a horse archer behind it, but it would have put a lot of pressure onto the defense there. And finally, what I've been worried about the entire time, Rome has no good way to attack Egypt, and my city is just sitting right there. There's a legion walking my way across the backside. Greece is trying to push through the back door and has put a aggressive city placement in Corinth. Corinth has a 3-space charge on the Novgorod, and it's a one-way ticket because they have a scout blocking me, but I don't have it the other way around. So they can attack me out of Corinth, and I can't. This sad little catapult doesn't get anything done before he dies. I'm so sorry, little one. Maybe if you had the French catapult strength buff, you would have survived. Getting sandwiched in on multiple sides means I'm stuck with only 3 cities. I would have liked to have gotten 2 more out this game, but nope. I got cursed with the center of the map spawn, and I'm trying to make it work. Egypt technically also got this center of the map spawn, which is kind of what's happening with the counter push from the aggressively placed musketmen, but the defensive terrain between then and Rome made it so that effectively I think I was the only real neighbor happening. I think putting this charge onto the musketmen this early was a mistake. I should have dug a little bit deeper and remembered that this is a defensive push, not an offensive one. Like, I'm here to prevent Memphis from being a threat, not from actually taking Memphis. So I ended up wasting that charge here. It wouldn't have helped. Not only does the catapult prevent a flank attack from going through, but they're able to defend a unit, so it was the correct option not to charge. And again, the goal is to keep Memphis out of the game, so dropping the fort for the second time this match ends up being, like, the perfect play. Almost. Someone ruins everything eventually, but hey, it was a surprisingly good idea at the time. I need that musketman to defend Kazan, but by putting it in the barracks, you get an extra copy to work with. I get cheeky here. I think that the military engineer will put the road down before the units chase after it, putting me in striking distance of Corinth. It turns out that the road happens at the end of turn, so I just like awkwardly have a couple of units standing way too far away from where they need to be. I was not happy with how thick my deck was this entire game. I wasn't noticing it during the actual play, but the massive amount of cards just sitting around was putting a really major hamper on my ability to do anything. That spearman on the hill, the zone of control, did so much work in order to hold back the backdoor attempt from Greece. And finally, Rome gets the attack on Kazan, and I am now being pushed from all three directions. Generally, when you're attacking, you're so confident in your attack, especially with this perfect wall of shields that Rome has going on, that you don't look for sneak attacks coming from behind. Realizing how close I am to victory, I try and get the Hagia Sophia out first. I'm looking to get advanced tactics for a shield wall to protect Kazan, because there's a catapult underneath the swordsman. So I'm only able to sell 3 of the science, but like, again, the Great Library, as long as the Tech Rush, put so many cards in my deck, I'm feeling in a really awkward spot right now. I don't want to use all of these, I want to use all of these cards, but I also need cards that are much deeper in the deck. Invest is such a good card that you can only use if you've got so much money that you don't need to draw with it, but the size of this deck is like forcing me to draw. The other biggest misplay is that I put the Great Library on the island to protect it when I should have put the Hagia Sophia on the island. I ran out of spaces to work with. And here's the cheeky play. Along with the Cossack and the Forced March, the 2 units I sent to threaten Corinth go all the way back across the map to Rome. I don't know how much he's defending Rome with, so I put the musketmen to attack first so I can get splash damage with the Cossack. It turns out that he only defended with a single unit, so doing it the other way around honestly won the game on the spot, as I would have been able to capture Rome with a melee unit. Defending Kazan with the shield wall. They're still going to get flank melee attacks, but bringing knights to a gunfight. There's also a subtle misplay of the cannon. I should have attacked the stack of the swordsmen, but oftentimes siege weapons don't get hit when you're attacking ranged ones, so I didn't think that the splash damage would go through to the catapult. I wanted to just get rid of the closest units that had the least defenses on it. When in reality, I should have put that cannon to attack the catapult and keep the city safe. At this point, the game gets a bit crazy, as both Rome and myself get blindsided from cross-the-map charges on the same turn. As, guess who's playing Egypt? You've seen this play before. The shield wall just saves Kazan. Which is the only thing that went right this turn, as forced march across multiple hills, off way on the distance, and they even used the maneuvers card to avoid the zone of control on the hyper-fortified musketmen in the forest. Yeah, there was only a single unit defending Rome. If I attack the other way around, I go to capture the city. Instead, I have to burn it, which is historically accurate, but not what we want for victory points. This is now a very bad game. Greece has an active barracks location, multiple units pushing Moscow. I've lost my expansion with the Hagia Sophia on it, so it's now going to be pushing culture into my territory as well. Rome still has got all these units pushing me. Egypt had set up a sneaky expansion to do the exact same thing I was planning to Rome. So even if I had taken the city, I think Egypt would have taken it back, actually. Like, this entire situation is so nerve-wracking. And I still have 25 cards in the deck to work with, which is, like, much larger than I want to be. I think it was a real mistake not to have burned resilience much earlier. I had enough food income that I can use just the food resource to grow cities to keep pumping out units. Like, I need to defend every single angle. I'm hoping to dig enough of the deck in order to find shield wall. I need to counter push in order to stop Greece from the backdooring me. I need to find some way to retake Novgorod. I'm hoping that the barracks that left that Egypt used to attack, my barracks, which got captured with Novgorod, is gotten forgotten by Egypt, and I'm going to be able to use it to set up an attack next turn. That farm would have been really nice 3 turns ago. As you'll see, there's exactly 1 open pip on Kazan. It would grow if it has 1 more food to work with. So if the farm had been up for 2 more turns, Kazan would be size larger right now, and I'd be generating an extra 2 gold per turn from the food output. I hold on to General, which is a mistake, hoping that the General stack will help Kazan out, but, like, I never really get a good promotion slot onto the musketmen defending Kazan. Right, if I don't find some way to retake back Novgorod, I just am handing the game over to Egypt more or less for free. I'm hoping to retake the barracks just to keep Greece at bay long enough that I can focus more on the primary goal of retaking Novgorod. Get a Holy Warrior on the Spearmen in case they drop a barracks exactly where that companion cavalry is sitting. And finally, there's no iron on the market, probably because of what I did to Rome. So the cannon, I was only going to get 1 of them the entire game. I think between the barracks behind Novgorod and the one next to Moscow, that's all I'm going to need to the game, especially because every single city of mine is a barracks from the statue of Zeus. At least for now. Yeah, holding on to General is a mistake. Just another card clogging up the deck. I need to be burning more. I don't find charges for either of these guys, so they're just setting up a slow push. Although the zone of control messes with the specific positioning on them. Yeah, Egypt did forget about the barracks behind Novgorod because they were using the northern one to try and attack trying to attack England. I think I got lucky because there's only these like old melee units attacking Kazan. Like my musketman survives with 4 hit points left. And because Egypt turns their attention northward, attacking England with the extra barracks up north, they don't put as much defenses on Kazan as they should have. They're feeling pretty confident in the musketmen defending Novgorod because there's a holy warrior sitting on them. Although I think I've now assembled enough units in order to take it down. Although I didn't find this shield wall last turn. Kazan is looking really bad, and having swapped into state religion, I don't have access to field medicine to get him back up. And in the worst feeling moment of the entire game, my own Hagia Sophia steals the statue of Zeus. Without the mobilized units, I've got very little time to retake Novgorod. Even though I retook the far barracks, Greece still has that one tile potential to drop a new barracks down and attack Moscow. Between the Holy Warrior and the extra Axemen, I won't kill a unit attacking it, but I'll at least survive against it. Now, needing to retake Novgorod and having Conquistador on the field, Expeditionary Force is nowhere near as useful as it used to be. I gets to use this one turn, but I end up burning it next round. And this is why you don't burn strength. The two charges I've got access with include a forced march, so one of these units is going to be heavily damaged walking into the fight. And I'm not certain which one it's going to be. I try to retake that fort because the fort is going to be a really big problem if Egypt tries to do anything. Although, looking back at it, it was probably best to just hyper-focus on Novgorod. If that extra spawned musketmen had gone around for another flanking bonus, I might have been able to take Novgorod this turn. So me focusing on the fort when, frankly, no one else plays forts enough to know how they interact and how important they are for spacing, especially because Egypt's shown a complete disregard for zones of control. It's probably a mistake to try playing for the fortress up there. Yeah, my biggest regret this game is not burning more cards. The shield wall just comes in so clutch for saving Kazan. Egypt tries pushing into Moscow, which is why you see the musketmen coming out there. Yeah, if I had taken the second musketmen that just spawned out, they would have been able to get through the Holy Warrior taking Moscow. I focused a bit too much on that fort separating Memphis, when Memphis is no longer the problem, it's these barracks. The fort I used ages ago, with the swordsman coming out to hit the horse archer, is now doing wonders for protecting my own musketmen, taking back my own city. It takes half damage when attacking as well as defending. 87 points, Egypt's taken the crown. Egypt has more points. More likely than not, they've got above 90 and are going to be able to finish the game this turn. Either I retake Novgorod or I'm out. And I also can't afford to lose Kazan in the same breath. So I finally get around to burning all the excess cards. But like, you can see the just wall of Egypt culture from my own Hagia Sophia being used against me, walking into the pasture I built on turn 2. Burn, burn, burn. Without the statue of Zeus, I only have access to the 1 barracks and units that have already sitting out. In the unlikely chance that the game keeps going, the mistake musketmen up north, I end up deciding to send them towards the barracks that Egypt's been using to push England with, hoping that I can get play on Heliopolis in the very unlikely chance the game doesn't end this turn. Again, I think it was a mistake, as if I had taken around to the space the Swordman is in, with on top of the Hagia Sophia, I would have been able to take Novgorod this turn, instead of having to wait one more. I've only got 1 Conquistador on the field right now, so putting the Holy Warrior to protect it is vital. Because I destroyed everything that Rome was producing, and England hasn't been selling it, they've been using it. So goodbye, swordsman, you've treated me well this game. Now I cross my fingers and pray that I get Novgorod back this turn, otherwise Egypt just wins the game on the spot. The Hagia Sophia that I built myself, stealing my own wonder, and all my pastures felt really bad to play against. That thing is oppressive. The shield wall again, stopping what remains of the Roman legion. Talking to Potatoes after the game, they thought that if they had gotten 1 more Immortal out, they would have been able to survive that attack, but no. The splash damage from the Cossack was too much. You saw 12 damage coming through, and then the Spearman would have attacked for the extra 5 needed to take it down. As you can see, there's just a massive amount of room all the way out here that Rome could do. Like, the pyramids was like the far expansion, and Rome even got the Arc de Triomphe all the way out in the peninsula. And yet, Egypt somehow managed to chase all the way over there, but why is Thebes purple? I think the reason I got away with this game is that I don't think that Egypt realized just how important Kazan was to the victory point count. So they had split their attention trying to steal cities from both England and Rome.